and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade and today I'm doing the end of the year book tag, which stresses me out. But I'm just gonna get into it because it'll kind of explain why I'm stressed out. So books you started this year need to finish. There's actually 3 books that I started this year that I do want to finish at some point. But the thing about them is I don't see it happening anytime soon. I'm in no rush to finish them. I just know that I do want to read them. But I kind of picked them up at like a bad time, I would say, because I wasn't in the mood to finish them. The first one is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I picked this up on my spring break when I went to Texas. So it's been almost a year. Like, not really, but it's been like 9 months since I've read this. I do want to finish this. It's the last book of the Mistborn series. I just wasn't in the right mood for like a really heavy, intense book. The next book is City of Brass by C.A. Sharaburdi. This is a really good book, and I actually made it decently far in this, and I do enjoy it. I've always loved reading it, but I just haven't picked it up. What I think is funny and similar about all these books is they're all a little bit beaten up because they've all been like brought with me a bunch of places because I tried to read them for so long. This book is so good though, and I don't know why I haven't continued it. It's a fantasy world that takes place in like the Middle East, and it's focused on the myth of the Dingy. I should probably look up how to properly pronounce that because I've always wondered and never figured it out. It's like the genie myth, but like dingy. They're in a lot of mythology, but basically there's the human world and then there's the world of the dingy, and there's 2 main characters. The main character is a girl who lives in Egypt, and she's kind of like a charlatan. She has a ability where she knows when someone's sick and she knows how to cure it, so she does use that ability to help people. But like she has to be careful with it because she doesn't really want to get caught. And she's always had a dream of leaving, saving up enough money to leave and go somewhere. I don't know if she's from Cairo or wants to go to Cairo. No, she's in Cairo. I don't know where. She has this place she wants to move to, but she ends up getting hunted by a monster thing and summoning forth her own warrior Dingy, who tells her that she's related to the Dingy, that she's part of them, that she's from this clan that was able to heal, that have all been killed out and died. So he's going to take her to the city where the Dingy live to protect her, and then they'll figure out what to do with her. And then the second character perspective is from one of the princes of the Empire of the Dingy, who like wants to make things better for people who are half Dingy, because there's like a lot of racist tensions, and then through the different clans there's a lot of tensions too. So he's kind of learning about his town and trying to make things better. So I can't wait for their paths to cross. I do love this book and I do want to pick it up, but I don't know when I will, so I don't want to say I'll finish it by the end of the year. But out of any of these, I would like to pick that one up the most. And then I have Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I love this book. It is so good, and I know I absolutely will read it. It just hasn't been the right time for me. This book is a really important, and like, I would say it's a famous classic now. One of those books that will always be talked about. But this is from the point of view of a geisha. It's a memoir, obviously, of one of the most famous geishas there was, and tells her story of how she became a geisha. If you don't know what a geisha is, it's actually it's a prostitute, but they're like super like, it's like a luxury to have, and there's like a lot of etiquette involved and things like that. And you can actually become really powerful when you're a geisha because you are with a lot of powerful men. So that's kind of how this goes. It takes place in Japan because it's a Japan tradition, and it just tells her story from how she went from a poor girl in a fishing village to one of the most powerful girls in Japan. So it's really good, and I do love it, and I will continue with it at some point. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition to autumn? It's definitely winter now where I live because we don't have an autumn. Thank you, climate change. But I would say this is like a nice autumn book. It's The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. The reason I think this is an autumn book is because it takes place at a high school, which always starts in autumn. It's a mystery, which to me, like dark, cloudy days spout mystery. So like that's kind of why I feel like it's an autumnal book. But this is a book about a town where all the cheerleaders are dead. They've all been killed, suicides, mysterious things have happened to them. And the main character is the sister of one of the cheerleaders, and she ends up getting involved in the mystery and realizing that there's so much more than is being told about what has happened, and that people know more than they're saying. And she wants to find out like what happened. Or is it her sister? Right? Yeah, so she is. So basically what happened is it tells you right away that like the first was a car accident. 2 girls dead after hitting a tree on a rainy night. Not long after, the murders happened. The 2 girls were killed by the man next door. The police shot him. No one will ever know his reasons. Monica's sister was the last cheerleader to die. After her suicide, Sunnybrook High disbanded the cheer squad. No one wants to be reminded of the girls they'd lost. And now it's 5 years ago, and they're like wanting to make a memorial, and that's when like things get brought back up. The next item on the list is there a new release you're interested in? And I'm actually going to say no, and the reason I'm going to say that is because I got for my birthday so many books that I want to read that I'm not even going to be looking at new releases and purchasing them or anything like that, because I just have so many books that I want to read already that I'm not really interested in. Like, there's nothing like exciting coming out for me. Like if there was the next book in the Trials of Apollo series coming out or something like that, I'd be super excited, but there's not. Which reminds me, I'm actually going to switch one of the books for this question. Okay, and the next question is what are 3 books you want to finish by the end of the year? And the first one I'm going to have to say is book 4 of the Trials of Apollo, The Tyrant's Tomb. I gotta read this. I'm super upset about the 3rd one's ending, and I need to know what happens, and I'm really mad. If you don't know, this is like a continuation of the Percy Jackson series from the point of view of Apollo. After what happens from the Lost Hero series, Apollo is cast down to Earth in a human body without his powers as punishment for what Zeus sees as him like almost starting a war between the Greeks and Romans. So he gets sent down to Earth, and he finds out that he has to go on a bunch of quests to free the oracles, because all the oracles have been captured by a new enemy that has arisen, and that means that can be no communication between anyone, any of the demigods, and the 2 camps, or anything. There's no communication. So he's on a quest with some new characters and some old ones. That's actually not a good thing, because bad things will happen, but it's fine. So I want to finish that by the end of the year. The next book I have is one I'm really excited about, and that's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I started this book, and I just love the way she writes, or he writes. I don't know. But I love the way that the author writes, because you feel so connected to the story. You're immediately just transported into it, and I think it has a lot of the feel of like if you've ever seen the movies like Rocket Man or Queen, when you watch them, if you like feel really connected to them and you're like, oh my god, this is so interesting, this is what his or her books have always done to me. And this one is actually about a rock star, which is kind of why I used those examples. So it's a band called Daisy Jones and the Six, and it kind of talks about how they were created, what happened, and why they fell apart. And it is so far super good, and it's all interview style, so it's all characters talking, which is different, but I actually love that, and I'm super into it. I really need to start reading some books. I have not been reading at all, which is one of the things that I have to talk about, but we'll talk about that in the future. And then the last one, I really want to read The House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is a retelling of like this some sort of it's a something I haven't heard, like a old, like the Little Mermaid, what are those called, stories, whatever, those kind of stories. It's like the 12 Dancing Princesses or something. I've never listened to it, but this book sounds really intriguing to me, so I've always wanted to read it, so I'd love to read it before the end of the year. So it's about a bunch of sisters and their father and stepmother, and there was once 12 of them, but loneliness fills the grand hall now, that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short. Each death was more tragic than the last. The plague, a plummeting fall, a drowning, a slippery plunge, and there are whispers throughout the surrounding village that the family is cursed by the gods. Disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, Analia becomes increasingly suspicious that her sister's deaths were not accidents. The girls have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in silk gowns and shimmering slippers, and Leah isn't sure whether to stop them or join them, because who or what they are, or because who or what are they really dancing with? It just sounds so good. And then the last question is actually, well, not the last, second to last, is what book do you think might shock you and become a favorite? And I have to go with Daisy Jones and the Six, just because I love the writing style of this author and it always sticks with me, and I just think it's one of those books that will just stick with me. So I am really excited about that. You know, also The Trials of Apollo, because any Rick Riordan book. But the last question is, do you have any reading plans for 2020? And at first I thought, I'm gonna say no for this. But as I'm filming this video, I realize that's not true. Right now, I don't have a lot of time to read in my life. I'm really overwhelmed with my classes and like the seasonal stuff that just happens. I just get sad and I don't want to do anything. But so right now I'm just overly stressed because I have a lot to do, essays to write, exams to study for, that I just don't feel like reading is what, like, I want to read, but I almost am treating it like a chore instead of a passion, because I feel so like, you need to do this, which is stupid. But I've been feeling that way for a long time, and it's really irritating because the second I read, I feel fine. But for 2020, I have a different class load. I have 2 days off a week, and I don't have my classes until later at night, and I feel like I should just have a lot more free time. So I feel like I'm gonna have a lot more time to read. And I've made so many video plans. There's so many really fun videos that I want to start filming, because I started watching a new booktuber and I like the way she formats her videos and like the fun things she does that's really different. Books and Lala, by the way, is who it is. So I want to start doing kind of things like that, like reading 5 books of different genres, books that are the best of my TBR, the lowest rated of my TBR, and all of that, and like get some good reading in. So I do think that will be able to happen. I just don't think that'll happen until the end of this year. So I do have 2020 reading plans. But that is all for this video. If you'd like to give me a like down below, tell me what you think, like books that you want to read before the end of the year, and then what you think a 5-star book you will read is. I think that'd be fun. But I love you all so very much, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.